Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to go over the cards that have changed in the most recent OTA and give you some of my opinions on whether those changes are good, bad, and how they will affect the meta. So let's start off with everyone's favorite watcher, Soatu. It was a 1-1 with this recent change, which was in the last patch, which was at the start of the game, shows you the right location, whether you have him or not in your hand. He just works in the deck. This card has actually been made even more playable. Obviously, a 1-2 is decent stats for a 1-drop, so it'll be very interesting to see if this extra location knowledge will actually make it into a competitive deck or not. I would assume no, but it's definitely a card that if you like that aspect and if you want to play with it, it's not going to hinder you that much. The next card is going to be a big one. It's going to be Angela, one of the most popular cards I think the game has ever had, since it's a card that was in there from the beginning and it's always pretty much been around in terms of just raw power gain for a 2-drop. It was a 2-0 and gain +2 power after you play a card here. Now it's been changed to a 2-2 and gain +1 power. I think this does overall limit the raw power output of Angela. I think this is a pretty solid change. I think when I was thinking about this change, I would have probably ended up at a 2-1 +1 power, but in general, still going to be very strong. I still think Angela's going to be a staple for the foreseeable future in the meta, but it does draw the power down just a little bit and maybe stops Angela getting as crazy amount of stats that we've seen, especially with Kitty. Probably the biggest one we all had our eyes on, were Second Dinner going to change Elsa? Were they not? We did get a change, nothing to the raw stats of Elsa, still a 2-2, but if you play another card here, give it 2 power when it fills the location instead of 3. And this is a really tricky one. I do think the power of Elsa herself could have come down a little bit, or the cost go up, because it sounds like a big change, taking 1 power off every time you do this, and it is a relevant change, but if you think you do this to 4, maybe 5 cards, it is -5 power, but I still think Elsa is going to be a key piece in the meta, because with other nerfs happening, I don't think anything else has been buffed or has been really pushed more that is going to make Elsa not playable. So we'll see how this goes. I've not played any games with the OTA yet, but we'll see how this goes. I still think Elsa is going to be a key part of the meta going forward. I think a lot of people will be happy with this one. It's the Collector. Did receive a nerf because Loki basically didn't get nerfed, so it was an indirect way for Second Dinner to nerf Loki decks not too long ago. But now, well, we'll get to it in a minute, that Loki has been nerfed. They've decided to put Collector back up to a 2-2 instead of a 2-0. This is mainly a benefit. I think it's still going to be good in Loki decks if Loki's still played, but I think this is a benefit of the card now does something again in decks that don't play Loki, for the main one really being like a Swarm discard to really gain multiple generations with like that and then Modok and stuff like that. So again, I think a nice change. I don't think Collector really deserved the nerf he got. I think that was just a stopgap while they worked out what they wanted to do with Loki. Next up, we have Sauron. This may have come as a surprise, but for a long time now, Second Dinner have been saying that, you know, Shuri Red Skull, that sort of archetype, and specifically Sauron has been incredibly powerful with very high win rates. So I think this was just a nudge, especially with the other nerfs we've had today, that bring Sauron just down a little bit, because a 3-3 you might not think is overly well statted, but the impact having this card and playing it on curve, for example, has in that Shuri Red Skull deck is incredibly strong. Like, the difference between drawing Sauron and not is the difference between winning or losing a lot of the time. Here's the big one. Loki was nerfed. Not in the way I would want him to. Maybe there's future changes, but this is an OTA, which means only the numbers could really change, as in the energy, the power, or the numbers on the card, in the card text. Loki's gone up a whole energy cost, so still at that 5 power mark, but it's going to be a 4 cost instead. Still on the 5 power, but it will still do the exact same thing. Replaces your hand with cards from your opponent's starting deck and gives them -1 cost. For me, I think the issue with this card is the -1 cost factor. I think unless you have exactly Mobius down, Loki can often just run away with games, and basically whenever Loki's played with a 3+, 4+ cards in hand, you kind of expect your opponent to just do whatever you want to do, but better, because it's all cheaper. So we'll see. I think Loki's still extremely playable. I think this is along the lines of the Elsa change, where yes, they are factually worse, but I still think they're going to be very, very involved in the meta. So I don't think Loki's going anywhere anytime soon. Then we get to some of the unexpected buffs, I guess. Hell Cow. I kind of agree with what was said in the notes, that Hell Cow was just outpaced by every other discard card. The blade change they did with discarding a card on the right was super strong. Sif recently got buffed to a 3/5, which was only 1 less power than Hell Cow, but you could actually again control the discard. I do think this change is good, because the extra power is relevant, because a 4/8 is nothing to joke about, and it kind of offsets the discarding 2 random cards. So this might just be good in a sort of general discard package, maybe to help with Modok situations or a lack of Modok. Do I think it's going to be all over the meta? I would guess no, but we've definitely seen stranger things happen, and again, like I said, a 4/8 that discards 2 cards might actually make it again, especially if you look at maybe combining it with the fact that Zabu will reduce it down a little bit. Suddenly it's going to be a 3/8, and it could be pretty dangerous overall. And now finally, I think we've had a fan favorite change here, and for those of you who've been following my OTA or patch wish lists for the past, I don't know, year maybe at this point, Spectrum has consistently been on there. I think I was even just requesting her be a 6/6, just give her something to get her going a little bit. But I think a 6/7, I think we'll be seeing Spectrum very often, because suddenly these stats, yes, a lot of 6 drops could be 10, 12, whatever power, but 6/7 that can give a wide array of +2 power buffs that you've built up over the course of the game could be very dangerous. I've, in the last few days, lost to a couple of Spectrum decks before this buff happened, so making her herself a lot better, going from 5 power to 7, really does, or has a good chance, I would say, at boosting the power of this card. So I'm definitely going to be testing out Spectrum on stream tomorrow, so make sure to check that out. I'll link it all in the comments, in the description. But yeah, that's going to be it for the day. That is the OTA notes for today. Let me know what you think of the changes, and let me know if there's any changes you think they missed. I'll see you next time.